All right, there we go. That works. Oh, there. Got my notification that I went live. All right. Let's see here. We'll wait for students to get in here for a little bit. It's Mr. again, back on this now sunny Wednesday afternoon. I hope this video finds that all of you guys are still. I'd say that, things, Mr. G's end, things are going well. Today's a better day. Now that the sun's out, I feel a lot better today. Hopefully you guys do too. Had a very productive conversation earlier today with the other teachers and staff at Laura Havlin. Things are looking pretty good where we kind of all feel like where we want to go with this distance learning model based on the information that you, the families, have shared with us. I think by sometime next week, you guys will be hearing more about which way we're going to go and how it's going to run. We do have a start date, and again, I think we will announce that next week once we firm things up. We do plan to meet again virtually next week to be able to discuss further what resources that we have available that we will be able to share with you families, and about also creating a schedule, at least me creating a day and a time where I would make myself available to, whether it's, video conferencing with you guys, answering emails, messages on Dojo about, how is it going with the learning process at home? Where are you guys struggling at? How I could help you with that. Once we get those plans firmed up, we will, of course, share those with you. So that's kind of my little public service announcement for the day as far as distance learning, that, we're still firming things up, but I'm feeling better about the options that we have available. And I think that it'll definitely be good for everyone involved. I think we'll be able to reach everybody. I think that I'll be able to individualize it so everybody's kind of getting their needs met as best as that I can meet them, given this, new platform that we'll have to use, because none of us are in school right now, and I don't have all the access to materials that I normally would have in my classroom, only what I currently have with me in my home. And with the new resources that are coming online, we're hoping to meet the students where they're at. And I think, this is, it's not going to look like a normal school day. So there's, that caveat to it. But we'll get through this. We're just going to have to be very patient with each other as we try to get this thing off the ground. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be, a hiccup here and there, and depending on how your students, mood is that day, you might not necessarily, get a full day of learning, and that's okay. We're all working through this process together. We all are dealing with, the extreme circumstances of the unusual times that we live in. I was actually talking to my mom about this yesterday when I was helping her grocery shop. And she mentioned the fact that, we're living through history right now. And no, like I said in previous, streams, no one alive today, or at least very few, because there's some that are, old enough to have lived through the Spanish flu of the early 1900s, well over 100 years ago now. That was the last big pandemic that human society has had to deal with. Most of the people that are alive then are alive today. There are some, but the majority of us, we've never lived through a pandemic. We've never had to, deal with the prospect that there's a virus out there that can make you really sick. And unfortunately, what I've been noticing a lot in the news is they're starting to report that a lot more people are starting to die from this virus, which is tough. That's going to happen. But I think the good news is that there's also a lot of reports that those that get it if they have a strong immune system, they do bounce back. They do get better. They make a full recovery. So that's some encouraging news on that front. So I'd say without further ado, we'll kind of get started with the read aloud here in a bit. Again, hope you guys are nice and comfortable. Hopefully you guys are doing good, ready to go, ready to hear the next couple chapters in the book. Again, if you want to talk about what's happened in the book, all you got to do is type in the comments here on YouTube in the chat. I can see those comments, and if you guys want to talk about what happened before I get started, we could certainly do that. I'll give you guys a quick recap of what happened, from when we read yesterday. I know we started off with the first chapter I read yesterday, that Ben met with Mike to get some advice about how to try to smooth things over with Jessica, because Jessica very much sent him out of the hotel, very much upset that basically she lost Mike to Erica and blamed Ben for it. Mike suggested that Sasha, who is Erica, but he knows her as Sasha because that's the name that she gave him, that if Sasha starts, warming up to Ben and acting like she likes Ben, that might trigger a jealousy response out of Jessica, that Jessica would then want to try to get close with Ben to get back at Sasha for taking Mike away. Mike wasn't very forthcoming more about how to go about that. Other than that, he is very much not happy with Ben. Keeps saying that Ben is lying to him about his school, lying about why he is at Vale and what he's doing. Mike is again insinuating that Ben is training to be a spy, and he knows that he's training to be a spy, and that he is upset that Ben will not admit that to him, that he thought they were better friends where they would not lie to each other. And Mike then just left Ben on the ski run that they were on. And of course, that's when it started snowing. Ben eventually made it back down the mountain, but it took him a while and a lot of falls, a lot of wipeouts, but he made it. He intended to go to his motel room and take a shower. However, that's when Erica grabbed him. Erica's like, we need to do some more recon. A little bit different this time. She's not trying to scale the hotel. They went to the heli-skiing company that does the helicopter skiing, and it's the one that Leo Shang, Jessica's dad, had used. And in order to get access to the computer, she had Ben pretend that he was like 9 years old and basically throw a panic attack / tantrum that he was a lost 9-year-old boy looking for his mom. And while the heliski employee had to deal with him, Erica then hacked the computer, which didn't require very much because there was no firewalls, there was no password protection for their data, which Erica kind of laughed at. And based on the information she found, because she shared that, all people that use this heliski company wear their company vests that have GPS units built into them. The reason that the GPS units are there is because with helicopter skiing, they're kind of skiing in areas that could be danger zones for avalanches. Avalanches meaning that the snowpack on top of the mountain breaks and starts sliding down the mountain, which then could bury anyone or anything in its path. So if a skier gets caught in an avalanche and is buried under several feet of snow, the GPS unit is used then by emergency workers to be able to search for them and find them and be able to rescue them safely and get them to safety because they were able to find them. And the helicopter company then uses that GPS to track where these people are going. And so Erica was able to pull up the information and pulled up Liu Shang, and it showed he did not leave the helicopter at all on his trip that day, which then reinforces Ben's theory that, he didn't go helicopter skiing at all. He may have got on the helicopter, but he didn't do actual skiing. His flimsy excuse was he wore a button-up shirt under his ski parka. You don't wear a nice button-up shirt when you go skiing. Well, he didn't get anywhere with Cyrus Hale, Erica's grandfather, on that. But now with this information, they have evidence to back up Ben's theory. But it also highlights the fact that, again, Liu Shang is up to something, and it's imperative that Ben mends fences with Jessica as soon as possible, and to use her connection to her dad in order to find out about Operation Golden Fist, which is about to take place in the next couple of days. So there's not a lot of time for Ben to get this mission back on track. So we're going to pick up in our story with chapter 13. The plan now that Erica is going to throw herself at Ben during ski lessons with the hopes of prompting Jessica to get closer to Ben. So chapter 13 is titled Infiltration. "That's what I want to see, Ben," Woodchuck exclaimed enthusiastically. "Those are excellent turns." I slid to a textbook stop next to my fellow classmates, who had been waiting for me halfway down the run. They all cheered for me. Jawa proudly fist bumped me. "You've got 10 times better since yesterday. How did you do that?" I just practiced yesterday afternoon," I replied, doing my best to sound humble. "It's hard, though, because I had finally found something athletic that I was actually good at. Ever since I arrived at spy school, everyone else had constantly bested me at tests of skill and feats of physical prowess. Erica was capable of anything, after climbing a sheer rock face to beating up ninjas, often at the same time. Chip, Jawa, and Zoe were impressive as well. Warren was not. But he was so good at camouflaging himself that our instructors tended to overlook his other flaws. They often overlooked him, period, because they couldn't find him. Meanwhile, I had been constantly humiliated, flat Fu masters, winded from long runs, flunked off of the artillery range for nearly wounding people, and sports had never been my thing. But something had clicked with skiing. My ordeal coming down the Simba the day before. Simba was that run that he was on with Mike, if you guys remember, it was called Simba, had pushed me to the next level. Vale had received more than 2 feet of snow overnight, and more was falling, and I had skied through it far better than any of the other beginner students. I had even managed to get down some of the advanced runs without wiping out. Meanwhile, Erica was still struggling. She wasn't bad, really. She simply wasn't fantastic at it. But this was incredibly frustrating to her. Erica had the opposite issue with skiing that I did. It was the first physical activity she ever come across that she hadn't mastered with ease. That morning, while I had been getting cheers and kudos, she had been getting sympathetic pats on the back and the occasional nice try. She hid all her frustration from Jessica Shang, though. Instead, for Jessica's benefit, she remained the character, upbeat and shrugging off each wipeout with a ditzy giggle. She was also in full-on flirtation mode with me. Now, in front of the entire class, she came up beside me and blatantly fluttered her eyelashes. "You're so good at this," she said. "Maybe you ought to be the one giving me lessons." Even though I knew Erica was acting, my face still flushed. I felt like it was 100 degrees outside instead of snowing. "Sure, maybe the day after class?" Over Erica's shoulders, I caught a glimpse of Jessica frowning. I also got glimpses of everyone else in class staring at Erica in shock. Seeing Erica flirt, even when they knew it was fake, was like seeing a flying cow. It simply wasn't possible. "That's very sweet," Woodchuck teased. But for right now, I'm still the instructor here. We're going to all head down this run one at a time to the lift, and I want to see each of you make parallel turns as well as Ben just did. Sasha, you go first. Okay, here goes nothing, Erica cried gamely. She pushed off her poles, wobbled down the hill. She struggled through the first few turns, making them without any of her normal grace, crying, "Oopsie," with each one. The rest of us lined up to watch her. To my surprise, Jessica pulled up next to me. "Hey," she said, nice and friendly, as though she hadn't been giving me the cold shoulder for the past day and a half. "What's up with that girl? I thought she was all into your friend." "It didn't work out," I lied. "Mike met someone else." "Really?" Jessica seemed pleased that Erica had failed to land Mike. "So now she turns around and throws herself at you." "She's not throwing herself at me. She only asked me for some help skiing." "Yeah, right." Jessica laughed and shook her head. "She's so sad." I turned to her, trying to hide my surprise. Mike had been right. Jessica wasn't exactly fluttering her eyelashes at me the way Erica had done, but she was definitely being friendly again. And it all seemed to be in response to Erica's interest in me. Erica was now well down the run from us. So far, we could barely hear her oopsies anymore. "Okay, Warren," Woodchuck announced. "Your turn. Rip it." "Check this out," Warren told the rest of us proudly. He jammed the ski poles into the ground, intending to launch himself onto the slope. Instead, as he slid forward, he caught his ski tips with both poles. The skis stopped short, Warren's boots popped off of his bindings, and he flopped forward into the snow. Jawa, Chip, Jawa, Chip, and Zoe all burst into laughter. "Very impressive," Chip teased. "Most people wait until they actually skied a bit before wiping out, but you did it right out of the gate." Warren staggered to his feet, sputtering. He had a face full of fresh snow. Somehow it had gotten into his goggles, blinding him. "It's not funny," he told Chip. Although, since he couldn't see, he said it to a tree instead. "That's right," Woodchuck agreed, although it was obvious that he actually thought it was very funny. "Zoe, why don't you head on down while I get Warren back on his skis?" "Sure thing." Zoe started down the slope. She was getting the hang of skiing herself, and she performed quite well. Down at the bottom of the run, Erica snowplowed into to a stop and then cheered for herself as though she had just won the World Cup downhill. "I did it!" she yelled up to us. "No falls! Wahoo!" Jessica sighed dismissively, then asked me, "You're not really going to give that dingbat a lesson this afternoon, are you?" "She's not that dumb," I said, acting like I was really into Erica, which wasn't really acting at all. "She's nice, and I don't have to do anything else." "You could come by the hotel again," Jessica said coyly. "I never did get to show you our suite." I turned up to her surprise. I didn't like the games she was playing, but I faked the enthusiasm anyhow, like I'd forgotten all about Erica. "Sure," I told her. "I'd love to." All right, he's got to weigh in, folks. Chapter 14, Infiltration. Jessica stayed close to me for the rest of the day, close enough that Erica and I didn't have much time to discuss what I should do once I was in the Shang suite. So at the end of our lesson and the bustle of storing our ski equipment, Erica deftly slipped what looked like a pack of gum into the pocket of my parka and jammed a radio transmitter into my ear. "I'll be in touch," she informed me, and then melted into the crowd. Jessica took care of getting me into the suite. Dame Bramage and the other bodyguards obviously did not want me there, but Jessica faced them all down the lobby of the Arabella. "I'm only taking Ben up to show him our place," she said. "That's all. What's the point of my father renting an entire hotel if I can't bring guests into it?" Dane gave me a wary look and then, to my surprise, spoke to Jessica in fluent Chinese. Obviously, it was done so I couldn't understand him. and it would have served its purpose well had Erica not been able to overhear the entire conversation through my radio. Erica didn't translate everything to me as it happened. If she spoke to me, that overrode her ability to hear all the others were saying. So she told me, keep quiet so I can hear this, and then eavesdropped as Jessica and Dane bickered back and forth. Through it all, Jessica grew angrier and angrier until finally stamped her foot and launched into a furious tirade, yelling at Dane for more than a minute. Even though I didn't know what she was saying, it was still kind of scary. In fact, even Dane himself seemed frightened of her, and he was a professional criminal. All right, he conceded, speaking in English once again, and looking a bit shaken. You can go up, but only for a little while. He didn't let us go up alone, though, and he frisked me first. For crying out loud, Jessica snapped. He's a kid from my ski school, not an assassin. Dane kept patting me down anyhow. It's your father's orders, he told Jessica. Anyone who comes into the suite gets searched. Luckily, he was only looking for weapons and not the pack of gum Erica had given me was small enough to escape his attention. Once he had confirmed that I wasn't packing heat, which is a weapon, he crowded into the elevator with us and rode up to the top floor. Sorry about that, Jessica told me, rolling her eyes. My father can be way too overprotective sometimes. Yeah, I agreed. Parents are the worst. I didn't really believe this, but I was doing anything I could to forge a connection. You're lucky, Jessica said. You got to come out here without your family. I've got Daddy and all his apes tagging along with me. Hey, Dane said, sounding genuinely hurt. I'm just doing my job. Jessica ignored him. This is supposed to be a vacation. Daddy's acting like it's yet another business trip. The elevator reached the top floor and opened directly into the presidential suite. We stepped off into a beautiful entry hall lined with white marble. Maybe it is another business trip, I said as innocently as I could. Jessica looked at me curiously. What's that supposed to mean? I shrugged. My dad never goes on vacation. Instead, he drags us all along to these stupid conventions and works the whole time. Jessica frowned like I'd struck a nerve. For a second, I was afraid she was angry at me. But then she started ranting about her father. You're probably right. My father never takes any time off either. He probably is here for some business thing. While she talked, I quickly cased the suite. It took up the entire top floor of the building, and it was even more decadent than I had expected. It had a wide open floor plan with an enormous living room, a dining room with a table for 20, and a gourmet kitchen. A hallway led off to my right toward what appeared to be at least 6 bedrooms. It all seemed a bit excessive given that only 2 people were staying there. There were big windows with incredible views of the ski mountain. A wide wraparound balcony with a jacuzzi that probably would have been great if it weren't only 15 degrees outside. 2 fireplaces, both with fires roaring in them, Tiffany chandeliers, and a grand piano. There were also 2 other guards posted there, one by the balcony door and one by the piano. Both wore suits and stood ramrod straight, looking like they had been at attention all day. Even though no one but them had been in the suite. Danced through the entry hall and into the living room. The other guards both glanced at us warily, obviously wondering what I was doing there. Dane suddenly pointed to Jessica. If Jessica noticed any of this, she didn't let it on. Instead, she was rambling on about her father. Daddy promised me he wasn't going to work on this trip, she was saying. But he's doing it anyhow. He was on the phone doing business all last night. He didn't even stop for dinner with me. I wonder if he really even been skiing during the day. For all I know, he's been sneaking off to do deals. Would you like anything to drink, Ben? Dane asked. His tone was surprisingly kind, given how standoffish she had been around me so far. I got the impression he was trying to divert us from talking about Liu Shang's business. It worked, at least where Jessica was concerned. Hot chocolate? She suggested before I could answer. Sure, if you have it. We have everything we could possibly want, Jessica told me. I have to call the restaurant and they'll bring it up. Then what's the kitchen for? People who like to cook, I guess. Jessica picked up the room phone and dialed the restaurant. Hey, this is Jessica. Can you send up 2 hot chocolates? Oh, and some graham crackers? And chocolate and marshmallows, too. Jessica said, looked at me excitedly. We can make s'mores in the fireplace. Cool, I said supportively, wondering what it was about the mountains that made people want to make s'mores. I hate to interrupt this awesome date you're having, Erica said in my ear, but you need to can the small talk and get some work done. Ask if you can go to the bathroom. As usual with the earpiece, the conversation was one way. I couldn't argue to Erica that I was trying to get work done. I had to suck up the criticism and turn to Jessica and ask, is there a bathroom here? Jessica laughed. Only 7 of them. There's one in the hall. She pointed. So did Dane. He was standing right next to it. Thanks, I said, and slipped inside. The bathroom was more nicely decorated than my entire house. Every fixture was gold-plated. The toilet was fully automated. The lid rose automatically for me as I entered, which I found kind of disturbing. Sit down, Erica told me. Let them think you're going to be in there for a bit. We have a lot to discuss. I wasn't exactly sure how to convey that I was going to be a while through the bathroom door, but I did my best. I dropped my pants to my ankles as loudly as I could and sat down on the toilet with a loud sitting on the toilet sort of sigh. To my surprise, the toilet began to play music. It was probably supposed to be comforting, some sort of melody to soothe you while you pooped, but the whole idea of a musical toilet was weirding me out. Okay, Erica said, you don't have much time in that suite, so here's the basic gist of that showdown in the lobby. Dane didn't want to let you up there, but Jessica told him that if he didn't, she'd go outside the hotel and make a scene. It might seem like Dane gave in to her, but the whole goon squad definitely has their guard up. The moment you got in the elevator, the guys in the lobby called Liu Shang. I'm watching them right now, and from the way they're behaving, I'll bet Liu Shang is on his way back, and he's not going to be happy when he gets there. So take out the gum that I gave you. I did. The reason it looked like a pack of gum was that it was a pack of gum, or at least it was the pack of gum that came in. When I opened it, I found 5 small black objects. Each was a disc the size of an M&M. Those are bugs, Erica confirmed. They're adhesive coating on them, so they'll stick to anything. Each has a range of only about 20 feet, so you'll need to spread them out through the entire suite. Place them as centrally as you can. They'll cover more area that way. Understand? Mm-hmm. I agreed, trying to make it sound like a toilet-related noise in case Dane was listening through the door. Good. And get Jessica back talking about her father fast. Whatever you can find out is crucial. Once Leo catches you up there, he's probably going to flip and block you from ever getting close to his daughter again. So stop sitting around and get to it. I wanted to point out that I was only sitting in the first place because Erica had told me to. Instead, I kept quiet and hopped back off the toilet. It flushed automatically, and the music stopped playing. And then the lid closed again. I plucked the 5 bugs out of the gum pack and stuck them to my wrist inside the sleeve of my undershirt. Then I yanked up my ski pants, made a show of washing my hands again in case Dane was listening through the door, and then exited the bathroom. Jessica was now seated on the couch by one of the fireplaces. She had removed her parka and was leafing through a glossy magazine. Hey, she said, you can take your jacket off if you want. Thanks. The heat seemed to be cranked up to 80 degrees in the room, and with 2 fires going, I was already starting to sweat under my ski clothes. Although it was very possible that I was sweating due to fear as well. It was incredibly nerve-wracking to be in enemy territory with armed goons scrutinizing my every move. I shrugged off my jacket and then looked for a place to hang it. Dane, can you take that? Jessica asked. Dane dutifully stepped forward and accepted my jacket, though it was clear he didn't appreciate being made into a butler. Thanks, I said again. Luckily, the sleeve of my undershirt was just long enough to keep the bugs hidden. So, Jessica asked, waving around the suite, what do you think? It's amazing, I said. Can I see the rest of it? Sure. Jessica hopped off the couch and led me back down the hall. Alarmed, Dane instantly moved after us. Jessica didn't appear to be bothered that he was upset. If anything, she seemed pleased that she was rattling Dane. There was a small table in the hallway by the elevator. It served no purpose except to hold an extremely large vase of flowers and had probably been flown in from halfway across the world at an enormous expense. As I passed it, I quickly stuck one of the bugs under the table, which it clung like a piece of gum on the base of a school desk. It was a move I had practiced plenty of times in my intro to enemy surveillance class, and I did it so fluidly. Dane didn't even notice, or at least he didn't appear to. I figured the bug would cover any conversation spoken around the elevator. 1 down, 4 to go. Jessica blew past the first few doors of the hallway. Those are the extra bedrooms. I think this place holds like 16 people, or maybe it was 20. Anyhow, there's a lot of rooms we don't need. Not counting the whole rest of the hotel, I pointed out. Well, Dane and the other bodyguards are staying here too. Still, you're renting out an entire hotel. I tried to think of a tactful way to get back to the subject of Liu Shang, then decided I didn't have enough time for subtlety. Instead, I did my best to sound concerned rather than suspicious. Why do you need all this space? All these guards? Is your family like in danger? Jessica laughed. No, Daddy likes his privacy. Here's my room. She led me into the bedroom that was larger than my entire house. There was a whole other sitting area, a flat screen TV, and another piano, just in case the one in the living room wasn't enough. My father likes privacy too, I told her, but he doesn't rent out an entire hotel. No offense, Jessica replied, but I bet your father can't afford entire hotels. No one can afford entire hotels except your father, maybe a couple sheiks. I guess. Wait until you see his room. Jessica led me back into the hall. I quickly stuck the second bug beneath the keyboard of the piano and followed Jessica. It wasn't a great location, but I didn't have time to find a better one. 2 down, 3 to go. Jessica opened the door to her father's room. Given the rest of the suite, I had prepared for it to be impressive, but even so, the sheer size of it took my breath away. It was bigger than the ski house motel. For the life of me, I couldn't imagine why anyone would need a bedroom so large, especially when they had the whole rest of the suite. I plucked another bug off of my wrist as I started through the door. Only Dane stepped in front of us, blocking our way. Sorry, Jessica, but your father doesn't want anyone else in here. Oh, lighten up, Jessica taunted. I'm just going to show him the room real fast. Dane stepped aside, waved an arm to the master suite, then stepped right back into our path again. There, now he has seen it real fast. Please return to the living room. Jessica growled in frustration. This is ridiculous. This is my suite too. And what does Daddy think we're gonna do? Steal his shoes? Dane's bulk filled the door so well that I could barely see any of the room behind him, only a sliver of it. I caught the glimpse of an unmade king-size bed with dirty clothes strewn on it, a silver case the size of a steamer trunk poked out from behind the bed. The case didn't seem like normal luggage, but it didn't appear I was going to get any closer look. Dane wasn't about to let us in the room, so I quickly stuck the bug on the side of the door jamb. Since the bedroom was much bigger than the bug's 20 feet range, I just hoped that if Shank did discuss anything important, he would need it near the door. He would do it near the door. 3 bugs down, only 2 to go. Dane spoke to Jessica in Chinese once again, and he sounded very annoyed. Jessica heaved an angry sigh, spun on her heel, and stormed back toward the living area. Looks like the tour is over, Ben. I'm not even allowed to show you my whole suite. I followed her. What did he say? Nothing, Jessica muttered. Actually, Erica said in my ear, he said you have already tempted fate by bringing this boy up here. If you push it any further, don't be surprised when your father cancels the rest of this vacation. It occurred to me that even though Jessica's father had given her far more than most people could have ever dreamed of, she was still annoyed by the boundaries he had set for her. So, I decided to see what I could do with that. Is your father always like this with your friends? Always, Jessica echoed. He's the world's biggest control freak. If you think this place is big, you should see our home. We have our own movie theater, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, a trampoline room, but does he ever let me even bring anyone over there? No. I've never been allowed to have a movie night, or a slumber party, or anything. And half the time when I make friends, I swear he scares them off. I don't know how, but he does it. One day, they're nice to me, and the next day, they act like I've got the plague. We arrived back in the living room. Dane resumed his place by the entry hall, staring at me ominously. The other 2 guards hadn't moved, but they now fixed me with equally intimidating stares. I glanced toward them. I can see how that happened. Makes me angrier than a wet panda, Jessica seethed. I didn't have the slightest idea of what she was trying to say in English this time, so I didn't even bother trying to correct her. Instead, I did my best to be supportive. I don't blame you. Ben, Erica said in my ear, I just heard from my grandfather. Leo Shang's caravan is en route to the hotel and moving fast. You have 5 minutes left, max. All 3 guards' hands went to their ears at the same time. Each of them probably had an earpiece as well. And they were all getting similar information, only they were getting it from Shang. Jessica flopped on the couch, exacerbated. I know it must seem insanely cool to be as rich as I am, but it sucks. I mean, I like having a huge house and a private jet and our own island and all the ponies I want. But it'd be nice to be normal for once. To go somewhere without all these jerks. She waved her hands toward the guards. Now that's just mean, Dane said, sounding hurt once again. Or have a friend who likes me for just being me, Jessica continued. And not the fact that I'm rich. I didn't know you were rich when I met you, I said supportively. I just liked you for being you. Jessica gave me a shy smile. Really? Really, I said, and I meant it. I was actually starting to feel kind of sorry for her. I sat on the couch next to her, shifting another bug to my free hand. I don't care that you're rich. You'd be the first, Jessica's eyes suddenly narrowed suspiciously. You've been asking an awful lot of questions about what my father does. This caught me completely by surprise. Yeah, I stammered, scrambling to come up with some answer. Because, I thought he might be a criminal. That was probably a mistake. Jessica gaped at me in shock. Dane and the other guards in the room tense. Tell me you didn't just say that, Erica said in my ear. But I had. And there was no way to undo it. I held my breath while Jessica and the guards stared at me. The most uncomfortable silence that I ever experienced filled the room. Jessica then burst into laughter. Daddy? A criminal? That's ridiculous. Dane and the guards laughed too, like this was the funniest thing that they had ever heard. I did my best to hide my relief, then soldiered on, acting like I had been joking all along. Well, he is kind of suspicious. He's got like, what, $1 billion? On all the security guys? And then I met him in the lobby the other day. He was, well, he was pretty scary. I know, Jessica sighed. He can be a huge pill sometimes, but I swear, he's not a criminal. So he's really going helicopter skiing every day, tease. Not playing some sort of world domination. Jessica giggled. Well, he did spend yesterday in a secret underground lair with a bunch of evil world leaders. I laughed along with her, definitely getting the vibe that her jokes were merely jokes. Either she truly believed that her father was an honest businessman, or she was one heck of an actress. Dane and his fellow goons did not seem to think any of this was funny at all, though. They were growing more and more on edge by the second. Okay, Romeo, Erica said over the radio. Shang's caravan is pulling up right now. T-minus 3 minutes until he's up there. I wanted to stick the fourth bug under the coffee table, but Erica and her guards were all staring at me. So for the moment, I held back and gave my best acting a shot. I asked, nice and innocent, as though it had just occurred to me. Who is your father skiing with? Jessica stopped laughing. What do you mean? You guys didn't come here with any friends, right? Because they'd be staying in the hotel. So who's your father skiing with every day? Jessica pursed her lips thoughtfully. You know, I'm not sure. Is he going by himself? Jessica considered this some more. No, he must have some friends here. The other day, right before he left, I heard him say that he was going to see someone named Molly. The moment she said this, the three guards in the room grew even more alert than they already were. Molly who? Erica pressed. Molly who? I repeated. Jessica looked at me suspiciously, as though I had just asked one too many questions, and so did the three guards. I have an aunt named Molly who lives near here, I said quickly, trying to cover. It'd be really weird if your dad knew her. Jessica's suspicions seemed to fade. You're right, that would. I think he said her name was Molly Denham or something like that. Is that your aunt? No, I said. Dane was suddenly at our side, doing his best to look like he was being a gracious host rather than a guard trying to divert us from what we had been discussing again. Hey kids, I've just got word that your hot chocolate is on the way up, along with your s'more fixings. Maybe we should get the fireplace ready? Okay, Jessica agreed enthusiastically. Completely diverted, she leapt to her feet and went to move the grating from the front of the fireplace. Obviously, you struck a nerve there, Erica told me. The big guy's doing damage control. Shang's coming in hot, making a beeline from the car to the elevators, not looking at all happy. I got to my feet as well, acting like I was trying to help Jessica, though I really took the opportunity to finally stick the fourth bug underneath the coffee table. One to go. I love s'mores, Jessica said to me. Do you love s'mores? I do, I said, even though I didn't like them all that much. I was doing my best to be agreeable, trying to figure out how to get her back onto the subject of her father's business before he showed up again. S'mores are awesome. Jessica picked up an enormous fireplace poker. Think we could roast marshmallows on this? If the marshmallows were each 10 pounds, I said. Jessica laughed once more, and then a thought struck her. Hey, remember when I told you my father would take me hella skiing at the end of the week if I got good enough? Yeah. Well, maybe you could come with us too. Really? I asked, genuinely surprised. Are you sure your dad would be okay with that? Sure, he's not always a jerk. I know he seems scary at first, but he's a big old teddy bear when you get to know him. Jessica's eyes were alive with excitement now, the firelight dancing in them. So what do you say? It'd be so much fun. Sure, I said. I'd love to go with you. All right, Jessica exclaimed happily. This is going to be great. And then to my surprise, she gave me a hug. It wasn't a big it wasn't a big and meaningful it wasn't big, meaningful. I've fallen in love with you kind of hug. It was more of a quick, friendly, hooray, we're going to go hella skiing hug. But Jessica was still a beautiful girl and she smelled like rose petals, and it would have been really nice if her father hadn't walked in at that very moment. The elevator doors pinged open. Leo Shang stormed out. He was probably already angry that I was there in the suite, but now having seen his daughter hugging me by the fireplace, his face was contorted into rage. What is going on here? He demanded. Jessica sprang away from me, startled. Oh, hi, Daddy, she said. Ben and I were just about to make s'mores. That didn't look like making s'mores, Leo growled. To go along the lines, first you brought this boy up here when you knew you weren't supposed to, and now this. Jessica tried to plead her case, but it only made Leo angrier, which made Jessica angry right back at him. Meanwhile, the two Chinese guards took me by the arms, lifted rather than a human being. With my strain, I didn't have a chance. Father was growing even more heated. She was screaming at him now, livid at the way that he was dealing with me, and he was just as livid at her. Dane met me at the elevator with my ski parka. The other two guards allowed me to use my arms just long enough to put it on and then picked me back up again. The elevator pinged open again. A waiter stepped off with the hot chocolate and s'more fixings, saw the two guards holding me while Leo and Jessica were arguing volcanically, and stepped right back into the elevator, figuring this probably wasn't the best time to intrude. The guards threw me inside the elevator as well. Jessica stormed away from Leo Shang, heading for her room. She yelled one last thing at him as she went, shifting into English, probably for my benefit. I just spent half an hour trying to convince Ben that you were actually a nice person, and now you show up and act like you're the worst father in the world. I hate you. The elevator doors then slid shut. As they did, I caught a final glimpse of Leo Shang. He no longer looked angry at Jessica or at me. Instead, he looked devastated by what Jessica had said to him. Whoa, said the room service waiter as we descended to the lobby. What was that? I don't know, I lied. Looked like he wanted you out of there in a big way, the waiter said, then held up the tray. You want a s'more? I took a single graham cracker. I was so shaken from the stress of my visit to the Shangs, I didn't think my stomach could handle anything more. Thanks, I said. The elevator opened at the lobby. Two more menacing guards are waiting there for me. The waiter immediately pointed at me. That's the guy you want. I had nothing to do with any of this. The guards brusquely escorted me out of the hotel, though at least this pair let me walk under my own power rather than carrying me. They shoved me out the front door and then formed a human barricade there. I set off down the street. Well, Erica said in my ear, that was intense. I waited until I was well out of earshot from any other people, then asked, what set her off so much at the end there? Leo told her that she was grounded, no more ski school for her tomorrow, and for the rest of the week. Looks like you just lost your contact. Erica didn't sound upset with me about it, like this failure was on my part. She simply said it like it was a fact. I still felt like I'd failed. Whatever Leo was plotting, it's still in the works. I only placed 4 bugs. I didn't have time to get the 5th down. Didn't have much time. I knew Shang wasn't going to be very pleased to see you, but he ran you out of there a lot faster than I expected. What got him so angry at you? Jessica hugged me. Erica didn't say anything in response. I looked around for her, figuring that she had been somewhere close by, where she could keep an eye on me and on the hotel, but I couldn't see her anywhere. Erica, I began. Grandpa wants you to return to base ASAP. Going now. And with that, how abruptly this had happened. It wasn't unusual for Erica to be blunt, but she'd been even more blunt than usual, as though she was angry at me. I suddenly got the sense that someone was watching me. I turned back to the Arabella. Liu Shang stood at the window on the top floor looking down at me. Even though he was quite far away, I could still make out his gaze. It was a total and complete hatred in it, all focused directly on me. I had no idea if he was angry simply because his daughter had hugged me, or if he suspected I was up to something more, but it was terrifying either way. I shivered, then hurried toward the ski house, fearing what Liu Shang had in store for me. All right, I'm going to stop there, guys. That was an exciting 2 chapters that we had today. I wonder what's going to happen next. I will try to go live again tomorrow. Not sure about the time. It might be late morning, early afternoon like it was today. It'll depend on what I have going on tomorrow. But I will let you guys know, of course, on Dojo. If your family is linked with my teacher page on Facebook, I'll sometimes post on there or message you guys there also when I'm about to go live. I'll read 2 more chapters tomorrow. Again, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, or comments you want to make about the book, you can send me messages on Dojo. I'll gladly answer them. I'd love to have that conversation with you guys. I always enjoyed when we got to talk about the books that we were reading in class, so I would love it if you guys wanted to continue that virtually. So I'm going to sign off now. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. Stay healthy. Enjoy your time outside if you're able to go outside even for a little bit. Definitely looks like a nice spring day. See you later.